Hi folks, I trust all you are doing well. So hopefully you remember what we have done in previous lecture. Now what I will do here, I will revise quickly at what we have covered in previous lecture, and after that we will do more discussion about the concepts. Now if you remember in previous lecture, we have started discussion about the accounting of not for profit organization, right? And here we have seen that the purpose of these organizations, right? So the purpose of these organizations is not to earn profit, right? Purpose of these organization is not to earn profit, right? So here these organizations do not exist for the profit. Now we have seen, that if any charitable institution or NGO has been formed, right? So these NGOs or NFP will receive contribution, right? Will receive contribution or donation from the donors, right? Now here, if any contribution has been received, right? If any contribution has been received, that would be considered as a revenue of that particular organization, right? So we have taken the example of being human. We have taken here the example of being human. So if being human receives the contribution, right, from any entity, from any organization, or from any person, so you have to understand that that would be considered as a contribution, right? And that would be considered as a revenue. Here, apart from this, these organizations, they generate other incomes, right? So other income can be here, let's say investment income, right? They generate investment income, right? Or also what they do, they generate income from sale of product, right? Income from sale of product. So these all transactions, will be considered as a revenue. So if any donation has been received, if any donation has been received, right? Or if any investment income has been received, right? Or if any income received from sale of products, those all incomes has to be shown here. Like those income, what we have to do, those all income we have to show here. I think you are able to understand this, right? Now here you have to understand that whatever amount has been received, this will be used for the welfare of society, right? This will be used for the welfare of society. Now after that, we have discussed about the types of donation, right? We have discussed about the types of donation. So there we have seen that donation can be received without any restriction, right? Without any restriction, or donation can be received with restriction. Now here you have to understand the donor has put it some restriction, right? If donor has put it some restriction, so we will classify it as a donor with restriction or donation with restriction. If donor has not kept any restriction, so that would be considered as a donation without any restriction. I think you are able to understand, right? So here, if any donation has been received without any restriction, if donation has been received without any restriction, that can be freely utilized, right? That can be freely utilized for the welfare of society. Now, if I'm saying that that can be freely utilized anywhere for the welfare of the public or society, it means there is no restriction on this, right? But here you have to understand, when donation has been received with certain condition or restriction, that donation should be used for that specific purpose only, right? That donation has to be used for the only that particular specific purpose. Now, if you remember, previously we have taken example. So now what I will do here, I will continue that example and we will try to understand the certain concepts, right? Because if I will start the theoretical part, so there would be a chance you won't be able to understand much, right? There would be a chance you won't be able to understand much. So I will come to this point. Now here we have to understand that when we have seen the statement of activity, so we have seen that what you will do, you will record the entire revenues, right? You will record the entire revenues, and after that you will record here the entire expenses. Now if you see here the top heading, right here, if you see the top heading, so in top heading we can see that the first column is given, that is unrestricted, and second column is given here, that is temporarily restricted. Right, second column is given here, that is temporarily restricted. Right, now what is the meaning of unrestricted? Unrestricted means that if you have received any donation, right, unrestricted means if you have received any donation, right, where there is no restriction, right, so that would be shown here in this column. Right, you have to understand that donation we have to show in this column, right? Or if you have received any income where there is restriction, that amount we have to show here, right? But you have to understand temporarily restricted means that there is some restriction, right? There is some restriction, and that restriction can be classified after a certain period. Now let's say you have received some donation where the party has put it some restriction, or donor has put it some restriction, that the donation which we are giving to you, that donation can be used after a certain period, right? That donation can be used after certain period. So that is a temporarily restricted donation. What I'm saying here, just listen to me again very carefully, right? Here you have received two types of donation, right? You have received two types of donation. Now in first case, let's say in first case, there is no such any condition, right? So you have received donation on 1st January 2024, right? You have received donation on 1st January 2024, right? Here the party has given donation, that is Reliance Limited, and they have given you 100 crores, but they have not put it any condition on it. So what you can do, you can use this 100 crore, let's say, for the purchase of medicine for your hospital. You can use this for the purchase of books for the school. You can use this for the, let's say, construction of library in the school, right? Construction of library in the school, or for any purpose. There is no restriction. Now let's say you have received the second donation where there is a restriction, right? You have received the second donation, that is on let's say 1st January 2024, right? Tata has given you donation. Tata has given you donation, that is of 100 crore, and Tata has put it, let's say, time restriction on this. Tata says that here you have to understand that you can use the first 50% amount, right? You can use the first 50% amount of 100 crore after 31st July. So they have put it restriction, and they are saying here that the 50% amount, right, the 50% of donation amount, which is going to be 50 crore, that can be used, right, that can be used after 31st July and before 31st December, right? So in second half of year, you have to understand, in second half of year, you will be allowed to use the 50% of amount, right? You will be allowed to use 50% amount, right? So here for the entire year, you have to understand that here for the entire year, right, here for the entire year, you can use only 50% amount. Now if you will calculate here the 50% of 100 crore, so you will get here the amount that would be 50 crores, right? Here you will get the amount that would be 50 crores. I think you are able to understand. So you can see there is a restriction on this amount, right? Here you can see that there is a restriction on this amount. So here there is a temporary restriction, right? There is a temporary restriction. Just see how this will be shown in the statement of activity. So here I will draw the columns, right? So step by step, what I will do, I will explain you the entire concepts, so you will be able to understand everything. The thing is that you have to listen to me very carefully, right? So here statement of activity, which is the brother or sister of profit and loss account. So here statement of activity is given. Now here I will write down without any restriction, right? If you have received any amount where there is no restriction, so Here I will write down without restriction. WR means without restriction, and here there is a temporary restriction. Now Reliance has given you the donation, right? Reliance has given you the donation of 100 crore. There is no restriction. Then you have received donation from Tata where there is restriction, that is of 100 crore. Okay, that is of 100 crore here. The total amount is here how much? The total amount is here, that is 200 crore. Right? Total amount is of here, that is 200 crore. Now you have received this much amount. Now what you will do, you will show this amount here, right? You will show this amount. Let's say apart from this, you have earned other income. Right, apart from this, you have earned other income. Let's say you have earned other income of 20 crore, right? So if you have earned other income, obviously there will be no restriction on that other income, right? So you have earned here other income of 20 crore. So the total amount or total revenue for first year is going to be how much in this case? Here it is going to be 100 plus 20, that is 120 crore. Also you have received another donation, that is 100 crore. So in total, how much you have received here? If I write down the total here. So in total you have received, that is 220 crore. In total you have received, that is 220 crore, right? But you have to understand here what condition has been kept by Sir Tata, that the 50 crore amount out of 100 crore, 50 crore amount you can use in the second quarter, right? 50 crore amount you can use in the second quarter, right? 50 crore amount, what you can do, you can use in the second quarter. So don't you feel that if you are preparing the statement of activity from 1st January to 31st December, right? Here it means that we are preparing the statement of activity for the entire year. Now out of this 100 crore, this 50 crore will become unrestricted. This 50 crore will become here unrestricted. Why I'm saying that this 50 crore will become here unrestricted? Because it is clearly given in the agreement, right? It is clearly mentioned in the agreement that what you can do here, you can use the 50% amount, right, without any restriction after certain period, right? You can use the 50% amount without any restriction after certain period, right? So here what we have to do, we have to reclassify. Now this you will learn in coming time, right? But it is very easy, so I will discuss it here. The theory is given in coming slides. So reclassification we have to do. What is the meaning of reclassification here? The restricted donations, right? The restricted donations are getting converted into without restricted donations, right? Are getting converted into without restricted donations. So what you will do here in this case, you will subtract 50 crore from here. You will subtract the 50 crore from here and you will add here the 50 crore, right? You will add here the 50 crore. Why you will add here the 50 crore? Because this will become the unrestricted donation, right? You have to understand that this will become here the unrestricted donation. So if I do the total revenue here, right? If I do the total of revenue, so what would be the total here in this case? Total would be 170 crore. Right, here it is going to be 50 crore. And here it is going to be, 220 crore. Here the total would be 220 crore. Here the total would be 220 crore. So I think you are able to understand, right, that this is how the adjustment has to be made. Right here, this is how we have to make the adjustment. So reclassification transaction you will learn in coming time, but this is very easy, right? What is reclassification? If any temporary restrictive donation is getting free, right? Any temporary restrictive donation is getting free. So that donation, what we have to do, we have to transfer in the unrestricted donation side, right? That donation we have to transfer in the unrestricted donation side. I think you got the idea here, right? I think you got the idea here. So restrictive donation is 50 crore. It means that we cannot use this 50 crore amount in this year. This remaining 50 crore we will use in next year. Right? I think you are able to understand. This remaining 50 crore, what we will do here, we will use in next year. So there is temporary restriction on this. Right? So if you will see, so you will be getting here more clarity that why this format has been drawn in such a manner, right, where unrestricted and temporary restriction is given here, right? So let's see and let's try to understand more, right? So you will be getting here more clarity. So we have read this, right? We have read this. Now here, what I will do, I will discuss more about this. So you will be getting more clarity because theory is given ahead. So what I will do here, I will copy this, right? I will copy this and I will paste this into the next page. Then we can do more discussion. Yeah, so we can see this here and we will try to understand. Yeah, so here we can see the revenue part, right? Here what we can do, we can see the revenue part, right? Now let's do more discussion about it. So we have calculated the total revenue. Now let's say what business has done. Business has incurred more expenditure, right? So here we will record now the expenses, right? Here we have to record the expenses now. So under expense side, I will record the first expense, right? That is going to be the program cost. Then here next would be admin cost, right? And third would be here, that is fundraising cost. Fundraising cost. So here we can see the program cost, right? So let's say program cost value is 30 crore. Admin cost is here 50 crore. And fundraising cost is here again 30 crore. So we can do here the total of expenses. Right here we can do the total expenses. Total expenses is of 110 crore. Here it is 50 crore, right? And what is going to be the total here in this case? 150 plus 110, that would be 160 crore, right? So here now what we will do, we will record the change in assets, right? Here we will record the change in assets, right? So what you will do, you will record the change in assets. So you will take the difference between 170 crore and 110 crore, then 50, then here amount is 0, then 220, and here I can write down the amount. So finally you will get the same amount only. So it is the requirement of format. So here I will do it. So here the difference is of how much? 170 minus 110, that is of 60 crore. Here 50 crore, and here 220 minus, no, it is not. Yeah, so it is not expenditure here, right? So here we have to find out the difference. This should not be shown here. Yeah, here difference is of 50 crore, and here it is going to be 110 crore, right? So here changes in net asset we have to record. You know what we do here next? This is the current year line item, right? This is the current year line item. You have to understand what we have done here. We have recorded here the current year line item, right? Here we have recorded the current year line item. Now we will record here next line item, that is going to be opening change in assets, right? Here we have to record the opening change in assets. So whatever previous total balance will be there, that previous total balance we have to record here, right? So let's say the previous total balance of donation without restriction is of 500 crores. So we will record here, right? We will record here. Then let's say here the previous total restricted donation is of 200 crore. So we will record it here, right? We will record it here, and total is going to be here 700 crore. So here in this case, afterwards, what we have to do, we have to do the total, right? Here in this case, after that, what we have to do, we have to do the total, and the total we will get, that is going to be 500 plus 60, that is 560 crore, then here 250 crore, and here total would be 110 crore. Right, here you can see the total would be how much? That is 110 crore. Right, so 560 plus 250 plus that is going to be 810 crore. Right, that is going to be a 810 crore. I think you got the idea, right? So this is how what we have to do. We have to provide the adjustment, right? This is how what we have to do here in this case. We have to provide the adjustment, right? So this amount, this total amount will be transferred in the balance sheet. Right? This total amount will be transferred in the balance sheet. Hopefully you are able to understand, right? Now what I will do, I will draw a balance sheet for you where the net asset value is going to be how much? Net asset value is going to be here. That is 500 plus 200, right? Because this is the previous year balance. It means that you have received donation of 200 and 500 crore in previous year, right? It means you have received this much amount. There could be a chance that you are running this NGO from several years and accumulated balance is 500 and 200 crore. But we are assuming that what you have done, you have started this business in previous year. Right, we are assuming that you have started this business in previous year. Right, now you have started this business in previous year, and in previous year you have received donation. Right, so in previous year you have received donation of, let's say, 700 crore. So this 700 crore donation includes the donation without restriction. Right, without restriction or restricted donation was of 500 crore, right? And restricted donation was of, that is 200 crore, right? That is 200 crore. So in total you have received here, how much donation you have received here? Let's say 700 crore donation, right? And in previous year itself you have started this business. In previous year itself, what you have done, you have started this business. Now you are having cash of 700 crore because you have received this much donation. Now restricted donation can be used for the restrictive purpose, right? So now you have to understand that when you have started the business in previous year, at that time you have prepared the opening balance sheet, right? At that time what you have done, you have prepared here the opening balance sheet. So now here when you will prepare the balance sheet, right? Now here when you will prepare the balance sheet, so in balance sheet what you will do, you will record the assets first, right? Here you will record the assets, and after that you will record the liabilities here, right? And once you have recorded the liabilities, after that you will record here the net assets. You will record here the net assets, right? Now here you have to understand that how much cash you have realized. You have realized cash of 700 crore. Right, here you have realized cash of 700 crore. Now we are assuming that with this cash, right, with this cash, that is 700 crore you have realized. With this cash, what you have done, you have purchased one building, right? You have purchased equipments. You have invested this into the furniture, right? So you are having 700 crore, you have purchased building of 100 crore. You have purchased equipment of 150 crore. You have purchased furniture of 50 crore. So entire total is how much here? The entire total is here 300 crore. Right? You can see here that the entire total is how much here in this case? That is 300 crore. Right? So here we can see that the total is of 300 crore. Right? Here we can see that the total is of how much here in this case? Total is of here 300 crore. Now here we can see if the total is of 300 crore. Right. So what is going to be the balance cash here? The balance cash would be of obviously 400 crore. So 700 crore minus 300 crore if you will do. So balance cash which you will have, that would be 400 crore. Right. Balance cash would be of 400 crore. I think you are able to understand this. Right. So you are having balance cash of how much? That is 400 crore. So what we will do here, we will record the cash. Cash value is going to be 400 crore. Then what you have done here, you have purchased the building, equipment and furniture. So here you have purchased building, equipment and furniture, right? Whose value is of 100, 150 and 50. 100, 150 and 50. So total value is of here, 700 crore, right? So here total value is 700 crore, right? Now let's say liability is 0, right? Let's say here we are assuming that liability is 0. So there is no creditors right now because this is the first day. So creditor is 0 here. Then let's say here the debt is also 0, right? Debt is also 0 here. So here total liability is 0 here, right? If I talk about net assets, so in net assets side, what we will do, we will record here the donation amount which you have realized, right? So we will record here the donation which you have received without restriction, donation which you have received without restriction, right? And donation which you have received with restriction, right? Donation which you have received here with restriction. I think you are able to understand, right? So you have received donation without restriction, that is of $500, right? That is of $500 million or 500 crores, whatever you want to assume. It is 500, and here it is 200 crores. So here if you will do the total of liability and net assets, right? So here you will get the total of liability and net assets. That would be here 700 crore, right? Total would be here, that is 700 crore. I think you're able to understand, right? So here we can see the total of liability and net assets. Here we can see the total of liability and net assets, that is 700 crore and 700 crore, right? Here we can see total of liability and asset is 700 crore and 700 crore. I think you got the idea here, right? I think you got the idea here. 700 and 700 crore. Now this is the opening balance sheet, right? You can see this is the opening balance sheet. Now you have to understand that here we will show this value as a opening value for next year. Now what I've done, when I've prepared here the statement of activity, which is the P&L account. So this is the P&L account, which I have prepared for the next year. This is the P&L account which I have prepared for the next year, right? So when I prepared here the P&L account for next year, so what I've done here, if you see, I have shown these balances as opening balances, right? It is very true. What we will do here, we will show these balances as opening balances. So 500 crore and 200 crore, this is going to be my opening balance. Now during the year, we have generated more revenue, right? So here you can see we have generated revenue of 170 crore and here the expenditure was of 110 crore. So this is my unrestricted fund, right? This is my unrestricted fund or without any restriction. So what I will do here, now I will add this value, that is going to be 60 plus 50, that would be here 560 crore. Now when I will prepare the next year balance sheet, this is the opening balance sheet. Now what I will do here, I will prepare the next year balance sheet. So in next year balance sheet, what I will do here, the value of without restriction donation is going to be here 560 and restrictive donation value is going to be here 250 crore, right? It is very easy, right? You do not have to worry. If you will listen to me very carefully, you will be able to understand each and everything. So this is the opening balance sheet, right? And here, this is the next year financial statement information we are providing. So let's say this is the financial statement from 1st January 2024 to 31st December 2024, right? Here you can see this is the data given for next year. I think you are able to understand here, right? So now what we will do here, we will prepare the balance sheet, but here due to lack of space, what I will do, I will copy this data and we can draw the balance sheet in next page. Yeah, so here what I've done, I've copied this data. Now I will prepare the second balance sheet. Right now what I will do here in this case, I will prepare here the second balance sheet, right? So let's see here the balance sheet which will start from 1st January. Usually we write down here 31st December 2024, and this is, sorry, statement of financial position. We do not call it as a balance sheet, but it is the copy paste of balance sheet. So I will write down in top, that is statement of financial position. Now here you have to understand that you have received additional donation, right? You have received additional donation. So obviously your cash will increase, right? So you have received the additional donation of how much? You have received the additional donation of 200 crore this year. Right? You have received the additional donation of 200 crore this year, that is from 1st January 2024, right, to 31st December 2024. Then you have received a restrictive donation, right? So in total, how much you have received here? You have received 200 crore. Then you have generated other income of 20 crore. So total cash which you have received during the year was of 220 crore. Right? Total cash which you have received during the year was of 220 crore. Then apart from this, you have incurred certain expenditures. Right? You have incurred here certain expenditures, right? So after adjustment of expenditure, the balance cash which you are having, that is 110 crore. That is 110 crore. So obviously my cash balance will increase, right? Here after reducing all the expenditure, I found that I do have balance cash of 110 crore, which has been segregated, between two categories. One is without restriction and second is with restriction. So it will increase my cash balance here. So if I write down the asset values here, so under asset side, I will write down here the cash, and I will write down the cash. Cash is 400 plus there is increase in cash, that is 110 crore. So here we will write down 110 crore, entire value would be 510 crore, right? Then here you can see building. Right now I'm ignoring depreciation and all, right? I'm copying the same value here, so you should be able to understand. Equipment value is 150 crore. Then here furniture value is, that is 50 crore. Now if I do the total here, so total is going to be, that is 810 crore. So your total asset value is how much here? That is 810 crore. Liability I will assume 0 still. So creditor value I will take, and debt value I will take here, that is 0 and 0, right? After that we have to record here the net assets. So now you have to understand that the net asset value will increase, right? So without restriction donation amount after adjustment of all expenses, right? We do not have to add this donation amount which we have received because we have incurred certain expenditures. So we have to write down the balance donation amount, right? So do not make a mistake, right? We have to write down here the balance amount. So balance amount is going to be sum of 60 plus 500 crore. That would be 560, right? That we have shown here. Then here for restricted donation, it is going to be 50 plus 200, that would be 250. So here what I will do, I will write down 560, that is without any restriction. And if I write down here with restriction, so how much is going to be the amount here in this case? That is 250 crores. So here we can see the total. So total of liability and net asset would be here, that is 810 crore, and here we can see the total of asset is given, right? That is 810 crore. I think you are able to understand, right? I think here you are able to understand, right, that how do we have to record these entire transactions. So this is going to be total of liability and net asset, and here this is going to be the total assets. So you can see that this is how the effect will be shown. In normal P&L account and balance sheet, what we do, we show the effect of profit in balance sheet in liability side, right? We show that in reserve and surplus side. Same thing we are doing here, right? But instead of showing that effect in reserve and surplus side, we are providing here the effect to the net assets. So I think you got the idea here, right? I think you got the idea what is change in net assets, right? What is net asset. I think you understood the entire calculations which we have made. See, it is very important for you to understand the basics here, right? Once you will understand the basics, then it would be easy for to understand the coming concepts. So that's why I have not started with the theoretical concept first, right? I thought that I should make you understand the practical concept first, right? Then we can see the theory, so you will be getting more clarity here. So this is the statement. I am trying to fix everything in one sheet. So you can see the entire calculations in one sheet. So here what we will do, this is the total balance. This is the total balance which we have to transfer in net asset side. Right? So I think you understood that how we have made the entire calculations and how this will be prepared. So we have done discussion about the statement of activity and statement of financial position. Now, normally when we prepare the financial statements of company, so we prepare profit and loss account, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. And surprisingly, you will find that there is no much change between the normal cash flow statement and the cash flow statement which is prepared by the companies, right? So I will try to show you the format of cash flow statement. Yeah, so later on I will show you the format, but you have to understand that when we prepare the cash flow statement, we record 3 activities, right? So first activity is going to be your operating activity, second is going to be your investing activity, and third is going to be your financing activity. And same type of statement we prepare, right? Same type of statement we prepare. So in coming slides, you will see the data related to the cash flow statement. Now, full accrual basis of accounting. Now, if I talk about the companies, right, we have done this detailed discussion about the accrual accounting. Now, if I talk about the companies, right, you have to understand, if I talk about the companies, right, so you have to understand that it is mandatory for every company to follow the accrual basis of accounting. Right, it is mandatory for every company to follow the accrual basis of accounting. I'm talking about the company. But if I talk about the NGOs, do you think that there we need to follow the accrual basis of accounting? No, it is not necessary. Right, the NGOs usually they follow the cash basis of accounting. Right, NGOs mostly they follow the cash basis of accounting. Now, when you will read, you will get more clarity here. So generally accepted accounting principle required that not for profit organization report using full accrual basis of accounting, the primary reporting emphasis is placed on disclosing the source of institution resources and how they were expended rather than on the periodic determination of net income. Now here what they are saying that here if any NGO, I have said now that they can follow the cash basis accounting and they can also follow the accrual basis of accounting. Now it is given here that if any NGO is following full accrual basis of accounting, right, if any NGO is following the full accrual basis of accounting, so the primary reporting emphasis is placed on disclosing the source of institution resources and how they were expended rather on periodic determination. Now, when we follow the accrual basis of accounting, what we do here, we record the transaction on the basis of accrual, right? So let's say what we have done, we have performed sales of, or in next slide, I will show you here. Let's say what we have done. If I take example of, let's say Byju's, right? Now Byju's provide training for 11th and 12th standard. Now Byju's is about to die, right? Supreme Court is pushing Byju's for insolvency, right? So soon that company will get dissolved, but that is a different situation. If I talk about Byju's, let's say your younger brother or your son, right, has decided to take classes from Byju's, right, on 1st January 2024. Right, your younger brother has decided to take classes from Byju's. Now here, if we will take the 11th standard and 12th standard classes, so he is supposed to pay, let's say $5,000, right? He's supposed to pay, let's say $5,000 for the both year classes, right? He's supposed to pay $5,000 for the both year classes, right? So $2,500 will be paid for 11th standard classes, right? $2,500 will be paid for the 11th standard classes, and remaining $2,500 will be paid for the next year classes, right? So here $2,500 and $2,500 will be paid. But when you have taken your admission, what you have done here, you have given entire fees on first day. You have given entire fees for first day, right? Entire fees on first day. So what is going to be the income for year 2024 for Byju's? The income or revenue for year 2024 is going to be 2,500, and income or revenue for year 2025 is going to be that is $2,500. Now when you will prepare here the profit and loss account, right here, when you will prepare the normal profit and loss account, and I'm talking about the company, when Byju's will prepare the normal profit and loss account, so here they will show the revenue of $2,500 only, even though I have received here that is $5,000. Here what they will do, they will show the revenue of how much? They will show the revenue of $2,500 in next year, right? So this is how what we will do, we will classify the entire revenue. You have to understand this is how we will classify the entire revenue. I think you got the understanding about this, right? But here you have to understand what this para says. The primary reporting emphasis is placed on the disclosing the source of the institution resources and how they were expended. Like they are asking you that we have to find out the source of resources and how they were expended, like from where we have received and how it has been expended. We do not have to focus on the periodic classification, right? So we have seen that if you have received the donation, right? If you have received the donation, so what you will do, you will categorize the donation into two categories. One is without restriction and second is with restriction. So you will show the entire amount, right? You will show the entire amount. Let's say certain amount you will be allowed to use in next year, but still that has to be presented here, right? That has to be presented here, you can see, right? So this is how, we have to provide the adjustment. I think you got the idea here what I'm trying to say, right? So this is what this para talks about, right? Now you can see introduction to not profit accounting is given, which we have already discussed. The overall emphasis for not for profit financial statement is on the basic information for the organization as a whole, right? So here what you will do, you will provide the basic information of the organization, right? Now here you can see the definition is given. What is the definition of not for profit organization and what we have to do, right? What is going to be the use here? So you can read this theory here, right? You can read this theory. So automatically you will get the clarity about this, right? Now here you can see required financial statement. What kind of financial statements you will prepare? This is little important. So complete set of general purpose external financial statements for not for entity include the following. So you have to prepare the statement of financial position, right? Which is similar to the balance sheet, right? Then you have to prepare the statement of activity, which is similar to the commercial income statement and changes in retained earning. Now here why they are saying that the statement of activity is similar to the commercial income statement, that is okay, we understood, right? The statement of activity is similar to the commercial income statement. But why they are saying that it is also similar to the retained earning, right? Why it includes retained earning? Here if you see, we have provided the adjustment for changes in asset. Here we have provided the adjustment for changes in asset, right? Don't you feel it is similar to the retained earning? It is similar to the retained earning, right? So here this is how we have to provide the adjustment, and this is what this particular para is trying to communicate you, right? So I think you got the understanding about this. Yeah, then we have to also prepare the statement of cash flow here. Okay? We have to also prepare the statement of cash flow, right? So I think you understood, right, what we have discussed. Now next is reporting expenses by nature and function. This discussion I have already made, right? What does it mean here, right? Reporting expenses by nature and function. What does it mean, right? Here it means that we have to report the expenses by nature and function. So nature classification we have already seen, right? Sorry, functional classification we have already seen, right? So functional classification means where first we will show the program services expenses, then administration expenses, then the fundraising expenses. That is what a functional classification, right? That is what a functional classification here. So here you can see the functional classification is given. Functional classification of expense categorize cost by the major classes of program and support services. So program services relate to the purpose and mission of the not-for-profit organization, right? Support services related to the activities such as management and general, right? So program means that you have conducted an event, you are running an medical hospital, right? And you have conducted an event where a lot of patients, they came to your hospital, they have done free checkup, right? You have invited a lot of guests, doctors from various countries, right? Those who have provided consultancy to the various, people, those who can't afford the good doctors, right? So you have paid some amount of fees to those doctors. So that is going to be the program activity. Then next activity as per the functional classification is, that is administration activity. Now you have hired some employees, right, who take care of these all things, right? You have hired some employees who take care of these all things. So whatever salary you will pay to the employees, that is going to be the administration expense. Now, apart from that, we incur fundraising expenses. So that fundraising expense has the separate classification or separate line item. So when we will prepare the statement of activity, right? So what you have to do, you have to report the both type of classifications, right? So natural classification we show just after statement of activity, right? So in statement of activity, usually we show the functional classification, right? Usually we show the functional classification and then we show the natural classification of expense at one location. So you will get more idea, do not worry, right? When you will see the real financial statement, so you will be getting more clarity, right? So if you see here, natural classification of expense include such as description as salary, rent, utilities, interest expense, supply, etc. So what you will do, you will classify the functional classification into natural classification. Now, sir, we are not able to understand anything. What you are saying, functional, natural, we got confused. Do not worry. I will further explain you this. Yeah. So here, what we have done, we have shown the classification of expenses, right? Here, what we have done, we have shown the classification of expenses. Now, if you see, when we have shown the classification of expenses here, so how we have shown this expenditure, we have used the classification, that is functional classification. That is a functional classification, right? Here under functional classification, we have shown three category: program cost, administration cost, and fundraising cost, right? Here we have shown, we have shown the three classifications. Now, once you have prepared the statement of activities, now for further understanding of the users of financial statement, what you can do, you can prepare a one ledger, right? You can prepare a one ledger where you can provide the natural classification of these transactions, right? Where what you can do, you can provide the natural classification of these transactions, right? Here what you will do, you will write down the particulars, and here you will write down the amount. Right, here what you will do, you will write down the amount. Right, now first I will write down here the program cost. Under program cost, let's say the total expense which you have incurred is 30 crore. So here you have paid fees to the specialist doctors, let's say 15 crores, right? You have purchased medicine, that is of 5 crore, right? And you have done blood checkup, free blood checkup of people, that is of 10 crore. So what we have done here, we have classified the program cost into natural classification, right? So here, this is the first line item which we have shown here, right? After that, what you will do, you will show the administrative cost. You will show here the administrative cost. Now here in this case, you can see when you will show the administrative cost under this, we will show, let's say, salary paid. You have paid salary of 20 crore, right? You have paid rent of, let's say, 10 crore, right? Then here you have incurred, let's say, other expenses of 15 crore, and depreciation amount is of 5 crore, right? So if you see the total here, so total will be here 50 crore, and here total will be, that is 30 crore. The next line item is here fundraising cost. Fundraising cost, right? How much is the fundraising cost here in this case? Fundraising cost includes here, let's say you have paid the sum amount to social media platform. You have paid 5 crore, right? You have incurred other expenses for fundraising. Let's say that is 25 crore. So this is the natural classification of transaction. I think you are able to understand what I have explained to you right now. This is the natural classification of transaction. So this is how, what we have to do. We have to classify the transaction on the basis of nature, right? I think you understood what I have discussed right now. So what I will suggest you that you just go and revise the entire concept which we have discussed, right? So more concepts, what I will do, I will discuss in coming lecture. But if you will read these slides, you will be getting more clarity. So thanks a lot for watching this video.